pointing out the webinar tool that we're going to use for our question and answer session. You may see this whole entire tool, or you may just see this little tiny bit here. You'll notice on your webinar tool, you've got an orange arrow. Clicking the orange arrow will expand the entire tool, and you'll see there's an area here for questions. We will encourage you, as we proceed through this webinar and as Patrick walks us through the process of creating those W-2s, if you have a question, that's a great time to capture that question and go ahead and enter it in here. We'll be able to see it on our end, and I'll be able to group the questions and make sure that everything is thoroughly addressed. We're going to do those question and answers at the end, and we're going to try to make sure that we don't skimp on the time, but that we're respectful of your time as well. So not exactly certain how long this webinar will go. I guess it just depends on how many outstanding questions there are at the end. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass the presenter over to Patrick, and he's going to get us started. He needs no introduction. I'm sure you all know him well, and he's worked hard to put together this presentation for you. So here we go. All right, Patrick, you are the presenter.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Patrick, and I hope now that you can see the Pontem program here. So I want to welcome you to this session dedicated to creating our W-2s here. And throughout the year, the payroll program has been totaling the payrolls that you've been running in order to report them on the W-2s at the end of the year for us. To put this information into the W-2s, we need to create the W-2s with the tool, and we'll do that all at once here. Yes.
Don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm seeing your notes. So if you, I think you got to show a different screen.
There we go.
Ah, much better. Thanks.
Thank you. So we're looking at the payroll program here. I've logged into a database that I have set up for this, and we want to start out by going to the primary task box in the upper left corner, and we're going to go to our Manage W-2s. This is where we do our whole W-2 process at the end of the year. Clicking on the W-2s here shows me a blank workspace for starters for the year we're working on. To begin the process, we're going to go to our Tools tab on the left side over here and click on the Create W-2s. Once we're in here, the first thing we need to do is slide across and take a look here. You'll notice there's a Help button here on the side. If you're stumped on something, you can click on this little push pin, and a little help box pops up here to help guide you through the different screens that we're on. So you can obviously look at this at any time. You can leave it open, or you can hide it here, and it will help you as we go through the different fields on creating the W-2s. I'm going to hide that for right now. When we're starting out here, we always have to tell it the year that we want to work with. So right now we're going to work with the year 2016. That's where we're starting from. There's a feature right below here for the control numbers. Most people do not use these, but there are a few customers who do use control numbers when they issue their W-2s, and you can turn that feature on by simply putting in a check mark here. And we're not going to do that at this time because this particular customer does not use that. But you can check mark this, and it will issue control numbers on your W-2s. Again, you do not need to do that, only if it's required for you by the IRS or the Social Security Administration. So after we enter the year, which we've done, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come back over here to our filter box so we can generate our list of employees to create W-2s for them. We want to make sure that this Show Inactive Employees checkbox is marked. That way we will include anybody that we have marked as inactive because their employment was terminated for whatever reason during the course of the year, we want to make sure we include a W-2 for them at the end of the year. Now, we can limit the list of W-2s that we're going to create if we only want to create a certain department at one time or for a certain pay group. But for what we're doing, we're going to include all of our employees. So we're going to leave these different fields blank and simply click the Filter List button. By doing this, we have now a list of all of our employees that we're working with. And you'll notice this says Available Employees right here. We need to move all of the employees over to the other side for the selected employees that we want to create a W-2 for. So I'm simply going to click this double arrow button down here at the bottom and move all of the employees over. Now that I have everyone selected, including all my inactive employees from the past year, I'm going to simply click my Create W-2s button. It is going through the totals for the year and creating the W-2s based on the information on their employee records. This one tells me that now 42 W-2s have been generated and we're ready to proceed. So we click our OK, acknowledging that. And we're going to go ahead and close this tool because we are done with creating the W-2s now. And those W-2s are now listed here as in-process W-2s for me to work with. The next thing we need to do is go through and begin reviewing the information that's on the W-2s and making sure that we have everything correct and marked in the right spots. The best way to do that is to come over here to our Reports tab. These are shortcuts to several reports that are handy in going back and reviewing the W-2s. The first one we always want to run is this W-2 Warnings Report to see if there are any errors. We can leave the filter as is because we're looking at the year 2016 and we're only worried about our in-process vouchers that we've just created. So we'll select the OK button, and it says no records were found that match the specified criteria. That's a good thing in this case. We don't want to have any reportable errors. So we're going to click the OK button here. The next report we want to run is our name address list. Again, we can leave the filter, or if we are simply looking for a specific employee or a specific department of employees, we can do that. But generally, we want the entire list, and so we leave our year and leave the selected statuses in process. When I click that, we have a possibility here of entering a notation, which I'm not going to worry about at this time, but this puts a little memo at the top of your report if you want to include some additional information up there. And this simply gives me the employee name, address, zip code, and social security number so that I can go through and make sure I'm going to send these to the right spots. And we've got the right employees and the correct social security numbers. Just a quick list to be able to verify that information for you. The other reports that we want to make sure we take a look at here is the wage withholding information. And again, we leave our filter just as is, and we don't need to put a report notation in there. And this simply gives me my employees, and we have the federal wages, the Social Security wages, and these are the different boxes on the W-2s that match with these pieces of information. You get your state wages as well, and your state withholding, and your Medicare, and Social Security wages and withholdings as well. So you can go through and verify this information and ensure all of this is correct. Now we can go through and scroll on the screen for each W-2 and review this information, but this is just a nice handy report that lets you see that information. And yes, all the names are fictitious and the IDs and everything are all fictitious, so don't have to worry about anything. The next one we want to look at then would be the miscellaneous totals part 2 and part 1. These are going to show the different deductions that you may have, whether it's for insurance or friend of the court or a 401B or a 403B plan, any of the different, if you've got union dues or things like that, something that's going to affect the tax totals that needs to be reported, those pieces of information you'll find on these miscellaneous totals 1 and 2, or Part 1 and Part 2 reports, to give you some, to make sure that that information is showing up correctly on the W-2s. Now, I did mention that you could go through each of these W-2s individually and check this information out. So let's take a look at that. I'm simply going to go to my first employee here, Mr. Tom Abram, and I have the ability to take a look at his Social Security number, name, address, and then we go to the totals. These are the different box 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on the W-2, and you can see the different pieces of information, the different totals there. If we go to the next tab across the top here, it says State and Other. This is for your box 12 and box 14 reporting items that you need to put in there, as well as the state information that gets printed at the bottom. And then we have the last portion here, which is our township information. And we can scroll to our next employee by simply going to these little black navigation triangles up here that allows us to scroll through the list and see the different amounts that we need to see here. We can go back to the list view at any time by clicking on this light blue header bar across the top here that says Detail View. When I click it, I simply flip back to the list here, and then I can go to anyone in the list here. When I click it again, it takes me to the Details view. Once we've gone through and we've verified the amounts for everyone, we've gone through and made any edits that we need to by using the Edit W-2 button up here at the top. We then go down to the Print W-2s button down here at the bottom right-hand corner. And you get an information screen here that asks you to insert the W-2s into the printer. I like to say go ahead and skip this at this time. And we want to print these on plain paper first to double check the alignment with the printer. Each printer is just slightly different, and each paper tray is aligned just slightly different. And so we want to make sure and print one pass through on plain white paper, at least one or two of them, so that we can see how it's going to line up with those printed forms you've purchased. We go through here and we can see that only the information is on here, and it is because we are printing on a pre-printed form that you've already purchased. And to run the test one, we come up here to our little printer icon in the top left corner, and we select the printer that we want to use. And then we're going to make sure and select current page. Or you can do pages, and you could put in here 1 through 2 so that you get 2 pages printing through. Again, we're wanting to do this on blank paper. And when we hit this print here, as I'm going to do, it goes through and sends the information to my printer, but it also goes ahead and it leaves the information right on the screen. So when you pull the white paper off your printer, you line it up, hold it up with the pre-printed forms, and if everything lines up correctly, then you simply come back up here to the top, insert your W-2s, the first grouping. So I usually do the copy. I usually do copy 1 first or copy 2 first, and I usually select or leave copy A, the red ones, until the very end. But we'll go through and just put in one grouping of the W-2s, and I'll do my print. And I'll say you print all of them on my printer, and I'll hit OK. In this case, I'm going to hit cancel. Once that's done, we pull the whatever forms are remaining in there, the group that's left, and we insert our next group of forms that we need to print. And we simply cycle through the print process here until we've printed on each of the different forms. And like I say, I usually like to leave the red ones or the copy A until the very end and do those last. Once we've gone through and we've printed all of these, we can close this. And it goes through, and you'll notice they've all disappeared off of my screen here. That's because when we print them, the status changes from in process to printed, because at this point you could take and mail those out, and where they're in a bit of a what we would call a finalized state. If we need to go back and for some reason we're trying to reprint something or we need to look at something, we can go back to this View tab over here on the left-hand side. And if we go to the last link down here, it says Review W-2s for reprinting. When we select this, they'll all pop back up here. Now you'll notice the status over here says printed. This means that they are locked and we cannot do any editing or deleting, but we can reprint them, or we can go back and look something up. If for some reason that there is an issue with one of them, there is a tool on our Tools tab that allows you to undo the print or e-file. It's undoing the print or e-file status. That will allow you then to go back and edit that particular W-2 or the ones that you have undone the print status on. Once that's all done, we can go to our Reports tab here, and we come down to the last one here, and you'll notice we have here the Laser W-3 form. This is, again, as a pre-printed form, but this is the summary that we print at the very end. Now, we want to make sure and leave the report filter as it's defaulted, because it says we only want to look at ones that we've printed or e-filed, meaning these are the ones we've distributed and or we're sending into the Social Security office and the copiers. And those are the only ones we want. So we use printed or e-filed, and we want to select the OK button here. This then will give us the markings for our W-3 form, and it will allow us to print that out. Again, I recommend printing one on white paper first, holding it up, make sure that the alignment is correct, and if it is, simply go ahead and reprint it. If your W-2 or the W-3 does not line up, please go ahead and give us a call. We can easily adjust those. We quickly clone the report, and then we go in and adjust the fields left or right, up or down, as needed. Once we've printed the W-3 form, you're ready to slip those all in the envelope. You're ready to slip the W-3 and the copiers, send those out. You're ready to send hopefully your W-2s have already been sent to the employees, and you're then completed the process. That's the total W-2 process. That wraps it up for us here as far as the steps go. At this point, I'd like to open this back up and see if we have any questions here that we can answer for anyone. Hopefully you've seen the tool over there, that orange arrow faces to the right. That opens up the panel, and then there's a little chat window down there. Please go ahead, feel free to type in any questions you may have, and we'd love to answer those for you now at this time.
Thanks, Patrick, for the information. Thank you to everybody for hanging in there. I do have a couple of questions that have been submitted this far, but that shouldn't prevent you. If you think of something and you want to type it up right now, we will make sure that we hang for a bit to make sure everyone's questions are answered. The first question is, when can I create W-2s? Patrick?
The W-2s can be created at any time. We do recommend that you wait until after you've run the last payroll of the year, and then you can go in and run this process. So anytime after the last payroll for 2016 has been completed, and that is the check date, the last check date in 2016. Anything that's dated with a check date of 2017 will go on the next W-2s when we file those in 2018.
Okay. All right. There's another question here. Can I create a single W-2 for someone not in the payroll system?
Interesting question, and we run across this every so often. Some of our larger clients have a person that needs a W-2 for a pension or something that they're on. And actually, yes, we can do that. The great part about this is I can come up here to the top and I can click this new W-2 button that you see. In clicking on that, I can simply come down here now and enter, if I can get in the right spot over here, enter the information that I need. I can start here and then I go over to my totals tab and I can type in the wages. And so on and go down, and I can simply fill in the information as needed. I can add the state information down here, and if I need, and I can go ahead and select Florida, and here if I can find my alphabet. So yeah, I can go through and put all of that information in just simply using the new W-2 button up here at the top left-hand corner.
Right, cool. Okay, so I do have another question here. This looks like it's a question from somebody who is purchasing tax forms, blank tax forms from Pontem. That's a service that we provide to some of our clients who want to have a one-stop shop. And those W-2s and end-of-the-year forms are in our office. They are being bundled up, and we expect them to be in the mail either later today or first thing tomorrow. So you should probably be receiving them by the end of the week. But our goal is to get those to you well before the last pay date of the year, so you should have them in plenty of time. Okay, and another one. This one's for you, Patrick. Could you send a list of notes you had with all the directions for us?
Okay. Well, yes, we can. But there's also a nice handy thing over here. When we go to the overview, we have our online training and support center. I'm going to go ahead and click on that here and bring that screen over here for you to see. This is our Pontem website, and on this right-hand side here, we have the opportunity to select which program of ours that you're using. In this case, we're going to select the Fund Accounting Suite, and we're going to click the Submit button. This will take you to an absolutely brand new support center that we have. Many of you have seen the old center that we used to use. This is a new one. And we've got the different programs here for the fund accounting. When we come down here to payroll, we have in here the how-tos for creating W-2s. This goes along with the video, and we will also be posting the video in here as well so that you can rewatch this webinar and then go through these instructions here on how to create W-2s. And it even does have the screenshots here for you and simply walks you through that process that we've just covered. So that's probably the quickest and easiest way. The other thing is this has a nice search feature up here, so if you're not sure what we're looking for, but you have an idea of what you're wanting to do, I could put in here W-2 and simply search, and it will give me the quick steps on creating a W-2. Now there's also some information about setting up new employees and other withholding amounts, but what you'd be looking for is how to create payroll W-2s. So great new little help center that we have, and excited to be able to bring that to you. And along with that, we get the opportunity to bring you these webinars, and you can see we did a video recently on how to create pay vouchers, payroll vouchers, and create paychecks. So look for more information to be added to this site on a regular basis. And it is very easily accessible by clicking the online training and support link here right inside the program on that main overview page.
Okay, so Patrick, we're coming up on a half an hour, but we're not quite there yet. But I've got a ton of questions rolling in, so we're going to keep going. For those of you who have other obligations or have all your questions answered, just to reiterate what Patrick said, we're recording this session, and we'll go ahead and upload that later this afternoon to the web, so it should be available for you as soon as tomorrow. Here's another. This is a great question. Our pay period ends on 12/31. If I don't create checks until January 2, will that be on the 2017 W-2? I need to do paychecks on December 31st to be on this year's W-2?
Yes, the paychecks and the W-2s work off of the paycheck date, not necessarily the pay period ending date. So if you want the employee's pay for December to be recorded on the 2016 W-2, you will want to make sure that you go in and enter and issue your paychecks and put the pay period ending date as December 31st, as well as the paycheck date as December 31st. So yes, if you do that on January 2nd and you put that check date as January 2nd, the IRS sees that as wages being paid in the year 2017, and it will go on those W-2s.
Okay. We've got two more here, Patrick, if you don't mind hanging.
No problem.
Is Pontem going to send the yearly update for W-2s?
We do send an update at the end of the year, and in there we generally update the federal payroll tax rates for the new year, and we also make sure to have any adjustments or tweaks for the new W-2s or for the year's W-2s to make sure we've got those reports aligned correctly. We will be sending one of those out. Because of the timing from the government and when we get those payroll information, the new tax withholding rates, that usually comes out about the first week of January. So we recommend that you go ahead and do an update at the first or second week of January, and just make sure that you've updated the system to get the new pay rates for 2017. But you can go ahead and start the process before you have the updates. There have not been any calculation changes that we need to make for the actual W-2 process. So you would be good to go to start the process before you get the update in the first week of January.
Okay, and this might be similar, Patrick, this last question here. Have the procedures changed since last year?
No, creating the W-2s procedure is the same as it was last year. We're just simply taking the time to run through it and do a video and a simple reminder training. You know, it's something we only do once a year, and so we're all a little nervous about it. But no, it's exactly the same steps that we took last year.
Okay, and I have one final question. Can we submit W-2s to Social Security Administration electronically?
If you have already registered with Social Security Administration and have gotten approval from them to turn in the W-2s electronically, we can create the file. It's a tool here on the screen, and it says e-file W-2s. Now what this does is it creates a little file on your local computer, and once that's created, you go ahead and log into the Social Security system, and then they give you an opportunity to upload the file into their records. But again, that requires that you've registered with the Social Security and told them that that's the method you're going to deliver your W-2s.
Okay, thanks, Patrick. All right, so it looks like we've gotten to the end of our question and answer. We appreciate everybody participating. It definitely makes our time together a little bit more robust and informative. Patrick, I'd like to personally thank you for all the time you've put into this presentation, and I'd like to just let everybody know that they can expect to receive a follow-up message from folks, from us, with information on that webinar link. So I hope to process the recording and have it uploaded later this afternoon, and we'll be making sure you guys all know. And of course, anytime you'd like to browse our new Help Center, there's lots of good information there for you. Thank you, everybody, once again. And if we don't see you next week in the 1099 webinar, we wish you all a very happy holiday. Thank you.
Happy holidays to everyone.